Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are back with another brand new X-Plus model kit, and I cannot even begin to tell you how happy I am to see plastic model kits making a return. And this time we've got a Jurassic Park 3 model kit, as we have the 1/35th scale Spinosaurus. As you can see, the box has a really nice, very high quality look to it, also has a nice shine to it overall. We've got the JP3 logo up there in the top right. Obviously, this is recreating the scene in Jurassic Park 3, which is actually the last scene that we see the Spinosaurus before it walks off. And then if you turn it to the side, you've got another shot of the Spino looking straight at us, looking absolutely terrifying, honestly. I think the Spinosaurus is probably one of the scariest dinosaurs that has ever appeared in the Jurassic franchise. Wow, every single image. There we go. I say it's always the same image of it looking at us. And then there's a few other images basically showing off some of the other stuff, the dinosaur from different angles and stuff like that. And then if we open it up, we pull that box open and take a look inside. As you can see, there is a whole lot in here, like a ton of stuff in here that I have to put together and build, which that's going to take quite a while. So what I'm going to do at this point, of course, is build this, and then once it's fully built and put together, we'll come back and check it out from there. So we've got everything assembled and looking really cool. Honestly, I think the only thing that I'm noticing on the Spino that is definitely a little awkward is the tail seems to be a good bit too short compared to what I would expect for the Jurassic Park 3 Spino. I was kind of shocked by that when I was assembling it, and definitely now looking at it here from the side, it certainly does look off, which is definitely a bummer because I think the first one that they had released as far as these Jurassic Park models, the T-Rex, was absolutely gorgeous and everything seemed so nicely sized and proportionate. But this time, again, there's a little bit as far as the tail going on here that looks off for the model. But it does look pretty fun, so let's jump to a quick closer look and we'll check it out from there. So, of course, the Spino has just been assembled and I haven't sealed up any of the seams. And one thing about these models, if you are kind of new to modeling like this, like plastic model kits and stuff, this series of model kits might drive you a little insane because there's actually a lot as far as what you have to put together, and that does equal out to a whole lot of seams as you move through the body. So that's a lot of, you know, putty filling and stuff like that. If you want to make those seams invisible, it's going to take quite some time. So, you know, kind of like a disclaimer there, if you're new to model kits, it could be a little frustrating when it comes to these particular kits. But I will say, once put together, the Spino does look pretty nice. You've got some pretty decent looking detail up here in the head sculpt. Obviously, the mouth is open. The Spinosaurus is kind of running along. For the most part, I think the head sculpt looks pretty good. Definitely looks fairly screen accurate as far as I can tell. Of course, I'm not a professional, but I would say it's pretty darn good overall as far as the, you know, shape of the skull and everything. As far as the general likeness goes, I think they did a pretty good job on the Spino. I don't really notice anything that looks off on this one. I think for the most part, the skull and everything looks pretty nice, and they did a decent job, I think, as a whole. The skin texture, again, maybe not quite as vibrant as it could be. I think it's a little bit slightly muted in the face, looks a little bit higher quality as you move back into the body. But again, that's not terrible either, and of course, I won't truly be able to judge until I actually get some paint work on it. We can see the nostrils right there. The eyes are sculpted out as well. Again, as I mentioned, the mouth is sculpted in an open position. You can see the tongue in there. The teeth are all sculpted really nicely. Very sharp, genuinely sharp appearance to them. And again, all the teeth sculpted individually, and the inside of the mouth looks pretty decent. There's not a whole lot going on as far as like fine detail on the inside of the mouth. It's really not focusing well there. You can kind of see it, but it's decent for what it is. It's just not overly impressive. But as you move back here toward the neck, you can see the ear first of all, and you can also see the larger scales that you do see on the Jurassic Park 3 Spinosaurus following along the back. You can see some nice wrinkling increasing to the skin as you move down. Very different style of scale detail here on the underside of the neck and throat region. You can see the throat itself as well. Up here again, you see a good bit of variation to the type of scaling that you see. You've got really large scales here, finer scaling here, even finer scaling as you move down. As you lead into the body, we can take note to the shoulder blade there kind of shining. Again, larger scales as you move higher up. Obviously, again, seams are pretty abundant through the entire model. Larger scoot-like scales running along the back right under the sail, which is exactly as it should look. The belly, I think, looks honestly a little bit big for some reason. I think the Spino just has like a little bit of a chunkier appearance than I remember it having, but maybe I just don't remember it perfectly, I guess, because I mean, for the most part, these seem to be fairly screen accurate, but I just feel like there might be a little too much girth in the stomach of this one. But the scale detail does look really nice here as you move through the course of the stomach. You've got the arms sculpted out, the hands as well, nice scoots running down the fingers. The nails have a genuine sharp look to them as well. Not a whole lot when it comes... Boy, my camera doesn't want to focus. Not a whole lot when it comes to fine detail in the nails, but again, pretty decent for what it is. You've got the elbow sculpted out, nice muscle definition as well. As you move back, we've got the hip bone right here again, kind of shining through right there. Muscle definition in the thigh is present. Again, a good bit of variation to the scales and everything as you move through the course of the thigh. You can see definitely a lot of work was put into the sculpt of this Spino. You have the knee here in the front of the leg, nice big bulging calf muscle. This leg is planted down on the ground. The opposing foot is picking up off of the ground as the Spinosaurus is taking a step in the water. And we can see some scoots moving down the toes of the foot. The nails are sculpted just as they are up there on the fingers, again with a nice genuine sharp look, but not too much in the way of fine detail. But again, it looks actually pretty decent, I guess, for what it is. We do, of course, have dew claws and everything for the feet of the Spino. And then you lead out into the tail. You've got a few creases and everything back here behind the thigh as you lead out. And again, the tail just seems to be a good bit too short compared to what I was expecting. And that's like very weird because I felt like the tail length on the T-Rex was pretty nice. So kind of weird that the tail length on the Spino would be a bit too short. But we do also have the sail up here in the back. And even the sail, I feel like just kind of looks... I don't even know, just slightly off overall. It doesn't look perfect, and it doesn't look terrible, but it just looks kind of like in between somewhere. I'm not really sure how to put my finger on what exactly it is that looks a little bit strange about it, but it does look slightly off to me. But as you lead over here to the opposing side, again, the head sculpt looks pretty nice, just like we saw on the first side. The neck is turning away from us, so there's a little bit of difference on this side compared to the initial side. You can see a nice turn in the neck right there. As you lead back into the body, again, you do have that beefiness to the stomach region. You can see the arm is in a bit of a different position on this side compared to the initial side. Again, the sail looks, honestly, I think maybe even a little bit better on this side for some reason than it did on the first side, but you know, it looks okay for what it is. And obviously we have a good bit of a different positioning here for the leg on this side. The muscle definition is very nicely highlighted in the sculpt. Again, same deal here for the calf. You've got the knee right there. And I love the bending of the toes as the dinosaur's taking a step. I think that looks really nice, very realistic overall. And then again, we lead out into the tail, like I said, that just seems to be a bit too short. But on top of that, we also have a base. And now there is part of the crane that actually goes into here. You can see the holes where it goes, but since it's not actually glued in quite yet, it's not staying in there. But overall, the base is basically just water, and you also have a splash, which you actually add. It's a separate piece, and you put that in there, and that's the splash where the Spinosaurus is kind of walking through. You can see the footprint there, as well as the peg hole to put the foot of the Spinosaurus into. And then you also have part of the crane that's kind of sinking here into the water. This is actually currently removable because it's not glued in quite yet either. I figure it's probably going to be easier to paint this if I don't actually put that into the water quite yet. It'll just make it a lot easier to paint. But the water has a nice, pretty highly detailed appearance to it, I guess. And again, just like everything else, I'm going to have to wait and see once it's actually painted how it looks. But we also have a kind of like a little hook here for our crane as well. And again, that's something that we'll have to assemble once it's done. And then the rest of the crane here looks pretty decent. Again, nicely sculpted. Not a whole lot in the way of fine detail, but really, I mean, there's not really much that you could do as far as fine detail to something like this, and it actually goes into the base like this, so it's kind of like coming up out of the water. And the final piece to the puzzle here would be the Jurassic Park 3 logo that you can paint out and put in front of this to display it, and that as well looks really nice, honestly. The logo itself is spot on. So now we're at the point where I have to fill all of these seams, paint this up, and we'll check it out when it's done. So here is my paintwork for the Spinosaurus, and I must say, once it is actually fully painted and everything, it does look really quite impressive. Like, you know, X-Plus really has been doing a pretty darn good job, I think, on these Jurassic Park models, and I really hope to see them continue. I haven't seen any actually announced past the point of the Velociraptor Blue and Beta, which has just recently released, but I'm definitely hoping that they continue on with them, because as you can see, again, even with that slightly shorter tail, it really is one of the best looking, I think, Jurassic Park 3 Spinosaurus models that we have on the market. And again, once you add some paintwork to it, it really does come to life. Hopefully my paintwork, turned out pretty good. I'm really not confident in my ability to paint the Jurassic Park 3 Spinosaurus. There's just something about this model, this color scheme, that I'm always just so unbelievably, for some reason, like, intimidated by. But I'm pretty happy, I think, with the way it turned out for the most part. I think it looks pretty good. And I think I did an alright job on it. But you'll have to let me know, of course, in the comments section if you think it turned out nice or not. But again, it really is, like I said, a phenomenally sculpted model. Even if some areas of it look just slightly off, I think, in certain, angles and stuff. For the most part, it's definitely a beautiful Spinosaurus. And then we also have the base, and again, the base as well. I tried to give it that nice wet look. We've got the area where the footprint is kind of stomping, or the foot is kind of stomping through. You've got that splash in the water, and I tried to give the water kind of just like a dirty sort of green and brown mixture, and then try to highlight all of the waves to sort of make it look like, it does in the scene. And when it comes to the crane that is, submerged here in the water, I tried my best to kind of like give the crane a bit of a weathering, and it's not something I've ever really done before, is like adding a look of like rust and dirt to something like this, because I really don't paint things like this very often. So, I was really new to this, and I'm actually pretty happy with the final result. I think it looks actually fairly natural, again, for my first time ever trying to do something like that. And again, also just really happy with the way that turned out. And I think the overall scene, again, as far as the base goes, honestly looks amazing. And I'm really excited to get the Spinosaurus and put it on the base. I actually have not done it yet since I painted everything up, so I'm definitely excited to do that. On top of that, there was also the Jurassic Park 3 logo that they include, and you can see that looks pretty darn nice as well. Tried to just kind of paint this up to give it a bit of like, a rocky sort of like stone kind of look. And you'll probably notice painting stuff on my fingers because I just finished everything on this not long ago. But again, the logo does look really, really cool. I also tried to give it a bit of a metallic look, which I think was pretty fun. But there is also one other part of this that I didn't go over previously, and that is that if you don't want to use the base itself, they do include this little stand, which is basically just an area where the Spinosaurus is kind of stomping through, and then you have this individual stand. Obviously, I didn't paint this because I really see no point, as this isn't what I'm going to be using to display it, but you can use this if you'd rather use that instead of the base. Also, one other thing I didn't show before is the cable that's included is really nice, because on top of, again, giving you this cable to replicate the cable that is on the crane, the string that they've given you actually genuinely looks like steel cable, which I think is really, really neat. So another really nice touch that I just wanted to point out as far as X-Plus goes. So let's go ahead and put this on the base and check it out once it's fully put together. And there we go. Once it is fully assembled, again, it definitely looks really nice. I feel like the only thing missing from the entire model is like some sort of a display base underneath this base. Like, I just feel like there should be something that sits on, maybe some sort of like a wooden or stone kind of oval base or something like that. I just feel like would enhance this a little bit and also prop it up a little bit higher. But again, that's just something you could do on your own if you choose to. But as far as a size goes for the Spinosaurus, let's just go ahead and I guess measure it like this. So for a length, you are looking at right around 16.5 inches. Actually, yeah, I'd say around 16.25 inches would be more like it, or around 41.5 centimeters. And then for a height, the highest point is definitely going to be the sail, about 7.25 inches, or around 18.5 centimeters for a size comparison. There is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, Robert Muldoon, and the Collect A human being next to our X-Plus Spinosaurus model. And you can definitely see again, it is a pretty darn sizable Spinosaurus, pretty much as you would expect it to be, but definitely a good bit on the larger side. But if we bring in some of the more infamous, I guess you could say, Jurassic Park 3 style Spinosaurus models that are available currently, here is the Nanmu version, which you can see again is actually pretty similar in size to the X-Plus version, the X-Plus version being just a little bit larger. We've also got the pretty massive version from W Dragon, which you can definitely see the W Dragon version is a little bit bigger, so I would say the winner as far as the size goes here. And then what is probably one of the most popular Jurassic Park 3 style Spinosaurus of all time, we have the Papo version, which you can see is kind of similar in size, but I think the X-Plus version is just a little bit bigger. And then for one final comparison, we have the first X-Plus Jurassic Park release with the T-Rex next to the newest well actually this isn't even the newest. The newest would be Velociraptor Blue and Beta, and that has begun releasing. But this is the second release, I guess you could say, in the X-Plus Jurassic Park model kit line with the Spinosaurus. And this can very clearly give you an idea of the fact that the Spino is a bit larger than the T-Rex. I don't know if they scale perfectly to each other, but I mean, they definitely very clearly show that the Spino has a little bit of size on that T-Rex. So this brand new X-Plus Jurassic Park 3 Spinosaurus model kit is really fun. And what I think I love the most about it is the fact that it recreates a scene from Jurassic Park 3 that I personally have not seen anybody else recreate before. And I think that's really cool because it is actually the last time we see the Spinosaurus in Jurassic Park 3, so it's probably one of, you would think, the most iconic scenes in the entire movie when it comes to the Spinosaurus, but it's also, again, a very cool scene that I've always been a big fan of, so it is nice to now have an actual model replicating that scene, and X-Plus overall did a pretty darn good job on it. I think they've captured pretty much everything that you would want to see, minus maybe like some fire, I guess, but the Spinosaurus, I think, does look really nice, and of course the Spinosaurus would be the star of the show here when it comes to this model kit, and overall they've done a very good job on the overall likeness of the Spinosaurus, as well as the skin texture. I think looks really good. The quality of the model is really quite vibrant and high quality, which is a plus. The only thing that I think is a bummer for this one is the tail length. To me, just feels short. I could be wrong, but it does feel like it's a bit too short, especially compared to what we had seen on the T-Rex. It definitely, I feel like, needed a little bit of length to it, but past that point, for the most part, again, you know, every so often I'll see an area of the Spino, and I think maybe it looks slightly off, but I'm not even sure. Like, sometimes the head looks a little bit off, but honestly, I think they did a pretty darn good job on it for the most part as far as the overall appearance and everything goes. And then, of course, the base looks really nice. The water is sculpted nicely, and it's pretty fun to paint the crane as well as just the perfect addition to the set. And then, of course, you also have that really nice Jurassic Park 3 logo to display proudly in front of the model. And you also have that alternate stand if you want to use that as well. Of course, the fun part is building and painting these model kits, and like I had said earlier in the review, they can be a little intimidating as far as these model kits go because there are a lot of pieces included. It's not like some model kits, like if you get resin models, you basically just have like the legs, arms, neck, maybe the jaw, the tail, stuff like that, whereas this is a lot more. There's a lot of little pieces that you have to assemble and then fill in seams for and stuff, so it is very time consuming. But it's also a model that you can purchase and you'll have a lot of time invested into it. So if you're looking for something as far as like a hobby to just basically give yourself something to do on your downtime, these are great choices because they are going to take quite some time. So it is something that's, you know, going to be fun and last a while. And then you have an amazing model that you can sit back and enjoy then for the rest of your life that you, of course, put some effort and work into. So if you are interested in picking one of these up, I will include a link in the description to Amazon because that's actually the cheapest place that I've seen it for. I ended up buying this on Big Bad Toy Store. It was like $70, but I think it's like 50 something, like 56 or something on Amazon. So definitely a better price there. So check the link in the description. Go grab this if you want it, and like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.